Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla, and today we are in a mega rush. It looks crazy on the camera. I'm sweating bullets for basically no reason. I just decided to go all crazy at the end of my workday and kind of rushed around like a nut. I was running for no reason too. There wasn't a reason for me doing any of this, but I don't know. I guess I was just feeling good. I was feeling pumped. I've been feeling pretty good and pumped, or at least my new way of thinking of things is fairly interesting, as I've documented the progression, really. So it's not much of a surprise to you guys, but to some people I think it's a fairly interesting conclusion. I'm not sure if I'm correct either, because I don't want to be speaking on morals about the topic, because my perspective could shift, of course, but you really, in general, I think there's just about nobody who will vouch for a lot of the government surveillance stuff. I don't think anybody likes it. I've never really heard of a lot of people. I think I can only remember one person I ever talked to that said it was an issue and stuff, and he said it wasn't an issue, sorry. He said it wasn't an issue and he didn't care because, it's that usual argument, well, if I don't do anything bad, then what do I have to be afraid of? It's just going to end up helping me at the end of the day. Because if you're a good person, why would you have to be afraid? But in general, I think pretty much everybody is against it. I'd say a majority of people don't like it, and for good reason. Because it's, even if people don't explicitly realize it, people are basically just seeking to defend their own interest at the end of the day. I know most people just immediately do it out of an uncomfortableness, but when it comes down to it, it's that humans really hate being accountable. That's really the truth of it, and people essentially want the freedom to mess up, want the freedom to make mistakes and just kind of live suboptimally, even if that comes at a cost towards other people. A lot of people just like to be oblivious. I don't know if this is just standard human stuff. Again, humans tend to have this resonance with Neptunian vibes, and that's been prevalent for a long time. And I don't really get it, because I don't really resonate with that too much, so okay. But that's how people have been, and I'm predicting that will come to an end. There's been a very long period of time of just kind of a lack of consequence and people not really needing to worry about consequence. I think we've touched on this before. So in the past, you had implicit order present in society that made it so that there was less room to fall. It was harder to make a mistake back then. And so a lot of people just naturally ended up well. Because it was difficult to make mistakes. But the attitude of freedom, chaos, rebellion was and has been very prevalent. For some reason, humans just love to indulge and just go haywire, go crazy as possible, right? It's probably the animalistic side of us, not being able to really have a concept of things similar to how an animal operates. But the higher side of humanity is when we use our brains in a way to quantify things properly and build higher civilization and higher structure. That is when humanity is at its best. Now take note of that, because that has been the perception for a while, and still to this day, it is almost at a climax, I would say, of there is not really any systemic consequence for a lot of people's poor choices. And I think eventually that is going to come to a front. Scarcity is going to become prevalent. Have somewhat of an understanding of scarcity through a lot of environmental concepts that have been pushed, global warming, climate change, in some sense, but in addition to that, and I mean, we don't really need to get into whether you believe, if you don't believe in those things, I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but it's not just that, it's overall this idea of scarcity and modern life just becoming more and more stressful and anxious and scarce, and a pressure to do better that we did not see in our forefathers' generations. Well, I shouldn't say that, because there obviously had been periods like the Great Depression where people were used to scarcity, but for the premise of what I'm saying, humans did not typically need to think logically about these things. And so, for so long, there's been an unfettered freedom that was possible. However, now, and I'm not sure exactly what the root of this is, it could be a number of things, really, but there is scarcity now. I mean, I think you could argue it's laziness. I think you could argue, again, people just don't really care anymore about progression. For a lot of people, the way technology is now, I think it's past what most people can even really utilize out of it. And we've settled on things like TikTok for the masses, which is something that does not require any level of cognitive anything, and it basically is already here. That's kind of the pushing the limit of what entertainment could be for a human. I don't really know how much more dopaminergic it could get. So we're at that stage, and the truth is, I think a lot of people don't really have much of a push to get past that. I mean, it's intoxicating for people. A lot of people, I don't know that they really need more than that. And so it does cause some unhealthy behavior, though. And there's a lot of things that have been unfettered and, in my opinion, unfair. I think we've talked about it before, how on this show it's like, yeah, I take care of my health. I'm one of the few in my generation who really does so with any level of consistency. And it's a rarity nowadays for someone to take care of their health that's young. I think most people don't. But it's always been a focus of mine, but I never was good at executing it for a long time. It's only been now that I'm on a stable work schedule, that I'm actually doing it. I've always wanted to be healthy, but I just never was. I had decent genetics, though, but, my sleep schedule was horrible up until, no, I mean, there were periods of time when I had a good sleep schedule, but then it slipped back into being bad, and it was always some kind of back and forth thing, So, but I think it's been a complete year, really, of a relatively good sleep schedule. And I'm assuming the next year will be even better. So, there is that. There is that to bear in mind. But regardless, I've talked about this concept before, about how I don't really feel like it's that fair that I have to pay the same car insurance rate as every other 23-year-old male, or the same health insurance rate as everybody else, when obviously I'm doing a lot of work. I'm putting in a lot of effort and work that other people aren't. And so shouldn't I be rewarded for that? Because I'm definitely putting less of a strain on society by being healthy, by making the right choices. Shouldn't I be rewarded? Now, the downsides of that is inequality, because obviously making healthy choices does not just come down to free will, as I think I snuffed that out in a previous episode. I'm not a huge believer in free will, although I do think it exists to an extent. I don't think it is the overarching force, is that I think it varies. I think some people have a larger percentage of their decisions made off of free will. I think some people are more conscious, some people are less conscious, but as a concept, no, I don't think free will is just a given or something that comes intrinsically. I do not believe that. And I think most of the time it isn't up to free will, because, and as I've said this before, I think I've said it before, but even actions that are made out of free will likely came from a prerequisite, right? That's the thing, it's how do I know that of my own fruition I chose to start doing this series? How do I know that? How do I know it wasn't predestined? Did I really do anything? So I do think it's relevant to credit free will as a force. I don't think it makes sense to say, or it might not even be healthy to believe that there isn't free will, but I think that's closer to the truth. I think that there sort of is a natural cycle to things, and it is what it is, and it can't really be stopped or changed. I don't know how many people will agree with me, because it's actually quite a controversial opinion, obviously, because a lot of bad things happen to people. And if you start going down the rabbit hole of the beliefs I'm talking about, it starts to make it seem like, oh, well, everything that happens is justified. And that's not really a nice thought. So it's a really difficult philosophy to hold, and I don't really think people like it, because humans really want to assume equality, and they want to assume innocence. And that when something bad happens, it's out of innocence. And I'm not saying, I just don't know. I guess that is the main flaw with believing that it isn't about free will, and, bad things happen to good people and all this stuff, All those beliefs, it makes my thing I'm trying to articulate sound rude. Which in a way, maybe it is, but I still think it's the most accurate mind frame to what the truth would be. And it's not 100%. Like I said, I would, if I really had to guess, I would say free will is anywhere from 25 to 40%. But it varies based on person. And if we're talking objectively, I would say 25 to 40. But when you get into the range on a subjective individual level, I would say free will could be anywhere from as low as 5 to 10%, all the way up to maybe even 45 to 60%. Some people are very driven and have a lot of control, but again, this all goes back to the thing of you're born with a certain genetic makeup that would give you that free will. So then is free will as a gift not a prerequisite? And not so that's the reason why I say what I say. Now, when it comes to misfortune and a justification or an explanation for that, I don't think I've thought about it enough, so I won't be able to explain that away. Maybe it is possible that those cases are random, but I don't know. I had for a while started to believe that everything was random and that things were to a degree material, and perhaps that could be the case, but I don't know. I've recently really started to think otherwise. I kind of do think that things are more calculated and there's a nature to events that happen and it's all sort of organized. It seems that way. It definitely seems that way to me, which is why I think atheism has a lot of flaws to it. Now, I don't necessarily think there's a problem with not believing in a higher power. I think there's definitely schools of thought like agnostics. I was going to say agnosticism. I guess that is the correct term. That, if you're still able to dabble with the idea of a greater organization. You know what, though? If you were an atheist, but you did agree in some greater pattern within nature, I think that is still a pretty valid opinion. I just think that, again, the idea that everything is just random does not hold a lot of weight. I don't think it's healthy. I don't really think it makes any sense, and therefore it's probably not true. Because typically the beliefs and belief systems that are true are what's healthiest, I think. Although, that isn't always the case, is it? So, yeah, again, a lot of the stuff I'm spitting out here, I am not definitive. I think this show is really to get a lot of eccentric and experimental thoughts on paper so that it's recorded. And then, this was another topic I was going to talk about. A lot of my ideas are now going to be archived. So we'll be able to go back and once AI is more mature, be able to see not only a progression of how I thought, but it's just all going to be recorded. And that is a thing I'm very happy about. That I will be able to get all the transcripts of all these episodes and just load them all into a language model, and I'm going to be ready to go. I am just going to be so ready to go, this archive of information. I'm basically doing what I can do. Now, when I was younger, I used to be somebody who feared AI, didn't really like it, or didn't like the idea, and I didn't use it. And I've said this before. I did not use AI until a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. I really have not been using it it's been out a lot longer, but I always resisted it. I always kind of thought it was evil. And I think at this point, I have a more accurate opinion of neutrality about it, because it is evil to an extent. I think what it does, and I think my predictions about it are going to be more accurate than a lot of people that you hear, which is that it will exacerbate inequality. I have a feeling I've talked about this before. And I don't know. I guess it gets to the point where I just think a lot of things are natural or done in accordance with nature. And there's not really much that can be done to stop what is, if that makes sense. What is will always be. And even if we think we could do something different that is superior, it just doesn't matter, because what is always going to be. Whatever was meant to be will be, and that's it. And the thing with AI is resistance is futile. It's just not... I don't think people are going to win. I mean, there's a more conspiratorial, or I guess a fringe... Not, you know what? I won't even say that, because I don't even think it's that fringe. I think most people I know are very resistant to the idea of the Neuralink. But I just don't understand how that's not going to just become the thing eventually. Not for everybody, but for people who want to remain ahead. And it just is what it is. I don't know. I don't really know that there's much else to it. It's going to cause inequality. Technology will not be able to somehow normalize everybody. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, dumb people will be able to learn things. Oh, no. You are so mistaken. Stupid people will not be the beneficiaries of AI. They will not be. We have, right now, the ability for people to look up information and to have vetted quality info. We've had Google for a very long time, and now we have ChatGPT, which is an even superior way to get very in-depth and thorough information about things. People do not seek it and do not care. For most people, the Neuralink will just be noise. It will just be a distraction. They'll use it to watch TikTok. They're not going to become super geniuses with it. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care, oh, now I don't have to go to college, I can just learn this degree. It will not matter. There will not be some equal utopia where now everybody's smart and no. People will abuse it. People will absolutely abuse it. And again, it will mainly exacerbate people who are already smart. People who are smart, it is going to be like an unlock. And it's a specific type of intelligence, and I've mentioned it before. It's people who have fast thoughts, not even necessarily organized, but quick. People who have quick thoughts and people who are very conceptual, as well as, I think I just said this yesterday, so fast thoughts, conceptual, verbose, high levels of vocabulary, of verbiage execution, and even a degree of mathematic comprehension. These are going to be the traits that are just totally exacerbated by AI. But I think conceptualization is probably the main one. Is, can you as a human strike things? Can you strike core concepts that are important? Because if you can, then you are going to go places. I think it will be an exponential curve. So maybe once you get to about the top 10%, that's when people really start winning. Maybe 20. But once you get to the top 5%, it will be exponentially more than that. and the 1% will be exponentially more than that, and the 0.1x. It is going to be severe inequality, and the potential of human cognitive function will be totally maxed out. But you're going to see, and you're already seeing it, a decline in a lot of these archaic systems. Concepts like mass education, I don't think they're going to last. There's just not really going to be any reason for it. I think education will return to being gatekept, and that's just going to be it. Less people are going to go the high education route, and you're already seeing that. People just won't see a reason for it. And the truth is, I think that's a part of the natural process, is that the resources are not going to make sense to expend. And again, I'm not here to say whether this stuff is right or wrong. I'm just telling you predictions, what my predictions are for what the future will look like. The middle class will be erased, of course, and it will be more like the bottom 90 and the top 10, and that's it. And this is just how it's going to be. I don't know how much rhyme or reason there is to it. And that's why I think I need to be at peace with that instead of trying to fight nature and in a way fight God. Because I don't know, I always want to help people, and I still do. That's why I started this series. I want to help people. But there's just so much that I can't change, and that a lot of people can't change. I guess it remains to be seen. We'll have to see how the next couple years go in terms of who wins elections, what candidates win primaries, which parties. But I honestly don't think it's particularly going to matter. I think that both parties will end up succumbing to what I think most people would label as the AI dystopia. I think it will be the case. But the reason why I think it might be justified is because it may be just what's meant to happen. I mean, I don't know why people should get away with just doing wrong things, because it's been that way for so long, and it's causing problems, and it's not fair that you have a portion of the population that basically lives off the backs of others. Although some of that, I will say, is propaganda, I believe. If I had to assume, it's sort of like rich propaganda to make people think that there's that many moochers. I don't know that there's as many as we probably think. But yeah, and I mean, to try to help, to try to make you guys more prepared, it's get used to scarcity. Because it's coming. And it's not going to be pretty. But it's okay. It's all okay. We'll have our digital delusions and fantasies to indulge in. They'll be quite decadent. But that's my new mindset about things. It's just being a spectator. Doing what I can, don't get me wrong. Trying to maintain cognizance of the news. Voting. Partaking in political discourse. The societal bare minimums, really. But at the end of the day, nature's going to run its course, and I think I'm just supposed to spectate, be a messenger of sorts. Again, I think in time a lot of eventually people are going to find my videos, and I think AI might find my videos. How's it going to work when what if AI is viewing videos? Would a creator get revenue if AI likes to view things? No, I think that's kind of a stupid thought, because I think it takes too much resources to like run an AI to that extent. I don't know that they would ever do that, and we're not particularly close to being able to do that, so that was kind of a silly idea. But so yeah, don't believe that prediction, at least not anytime soon. But be ready. I really wouldn't be surprised if some kind of fairly aggressive meritocracy. So what would you say? Meritocracy, meritocratic. I guess it would be meritocratic. Meritocratic. Meritocracy. Meritocratic. All right. Sorry, I'm just fooling around a little bit. It's coming. It already is existing to some extent, but I just don't think it's going to get better. I do not. Time will tell, but I do not. Do not think things will be better. So get used to it, and try to model after the stuff I'm talking about. I mean, diet's important, but I honestly wouldn't focus too much on diet, because I think that is going to be harder to track. Although, hey, I mean, maybe I'm being too lenient, because everything's eventually going to be tracked. Cash is probably going to be illegal eventually. They're going to want to collect it. So if every transaction's on a credit card and there's receipts and everything's logged, then they're going to be able to see what you're buying. So maybe I'm wrong, but my initial impression is that sleep and exercise are going to be the most tracked metrics. So if I had advice to give, it would be figuring those out. Not to mention, in my opinion, they're I'd want to say most difficult, but maybe that's inaccurate. Maybe diet is more difficult, but I think sleep is probably the most difficult. Now, I think diet plays a role in these things. Having a good diet will likely improve your sleep. Right, so among other things, make you be able to exercise better, but just as a rule of thumb, start doing it. And realize that a lot of these lazy philosophies, like I said, it's pretty profound, the whole direct versus indirect harm, and that you harming yourself indirectly harms everybody else. And so that's really what people need to start doing, is just start taking care of themselves. It's the most important thing that is going to be very relevant very soon. Take as good care of yourself as you can. And start now, because I'm telling you how the future is going to be. It's probably in some ways going to continue to be chaotic, but there's going to be a lot more accountability for things. So operate now. When you're doing things, pretend like you're being watched. I'm dead serious. Pretend that somebody's spying on you and judging your sleep score, and because this stuff it's not going anywhere. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know what God would want us to do. To me, it seems kind of tricky. I mean, there's that obvious idea of taking the mark of the beast, and that Neuralink could be that. But to me, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, that by avoiding Neuralink, you would somehow, that would be the make or break for heaven. I could be wrong. I could look into it more, but I just don't think it particularly makes sense that God would want people to just, I mean, I don't even know what, right? I think God would want people to get that chip in their head and use it for something good. Now, I'm sorry, I'm kind of, that sounds like, that sounds so funny to me. I feel like I don't understand how that could bar you from heaven or restrict your soul. I don't know. But what do I know, right? I mean, I'm not a scholar, so. But yeah, I'm not sure. To me, though, it seems difficult. It seems very difficult to me to figure out why that would be something. I just don't know. But maybe I have a different understanding of who God is. And I don't know. I mean, but my understanding of God is that these improvements are a further actualization of his creation. So it really doesn't make any sense to me why it would inherently be against God. Because I don't think we would become God. I mean, when you get into the realm of immortality and things like that, as far as I know, we can make ourselves semi-immortal, but everything is still going to be rooted in some kind of material that, as far as we know, will eventually just destroy itself. I mean, if you uploaded your thoughts to the cloud and had an AI running around as you, if some crazy thing like a solar flare, is it, like, that's extreme enough, wiped out the electrical grid and stuff, you're toast anyway, you know? So there has to be, now I guess, and I was thinking of this as I was saying it, we could get to a point where we had so many copies of things and maybe like multiple ships at different points in the galaxy, and they all sort of regulated things. And yeah, I mean, but even then, couldn't the universe end at some point or something? Like the entire universe? I'm not sure. Because I thought there would always be like a cycling of new stars, old stars, planets, thought there'd always be some kind of cycling of that. But that's the best thing I can think of, is like multiple fail-safe ships. But we don't have any technology that's immaterial, so I don't think anything we can feasibly create at this point would actually be immortal, which means we're not becoming God. And so I don't understand how it would be blasphemous to God to want to, again, fully actualize his creation. Because it's not like, I don't understand how that would even, why would God create a species to do something he wouldn't want us to do? I don't really know how much sense that makes. So I guess I don't really see a lot of this stuff as an issue, because again, I think it's just the actualization of God, of God's creation. He made humans to, I assume, be spectacular. I assume we should be trying to attain the highest level of thought, productivity, wellness, health as possible. I don't understand why those things would be against God, and I think a lot of I just don't agree. I guess I do not agree with a lot of religious people because it just doesn't. I don't understand why a creator would not want his creation to become as good as it could be. Because I don't think it would be feasible for humans to become our creator. I don't even think that's possible. So I don't understand why it's framed that way. I don't see how AI could make us God. I don't think that would even happen. So I think a lot of the stuff that people are saying is incorrect. Now, could it be blasphemous if we actually did become at the level of our creator? Yeah, I mean, that's possible, and maybe I could say that's not good, but I don't really see a path to true 100% guaranteed immortality. We could maybe achieve semi-immortality, but then again, that would still only be demigod status. We still have no concept, and really saving somebody's thoughts to the cloud is not. I don't even know that should qualify as immortality. I just don't. I mean, it's just saving thoughts to the cloud. Is that really being a demigod? I just don't. Is there any real consciousness with AI? These are all questions we have to get into. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems difficult to me to think that God would punish us for these things, when a lot of it is just humans haphazardly inventing things, and we ended up here and we're just, I don't know, we're just doing stuff. And yeah, I'm not sure though, because again, I don't want to, nothing in this video was concrete that I said. It was, like I said, for some reason I was just feeling pretty experimental. And so that's how we got to where we're at now. But I don't want, people to hear this and end up thinking I'm saying this stuff as if it's gospel. I don't know that it's gospel. This is just car ride thoughts. But as you guys can tell, I think I'm getting back into the swing of things now. It was just weird. It's always weird when I get out of a routine, but I didn't even get to no, I don't even need to talk about that. But yeah, I guess depth has returned, at least for a time. Maybe tomorrow morning will be depth, maybe not. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to want to talk about, but change is coming. Be prepared, because I'm going to be saying I told you so. I'm fairly confident of that. I mean, I've had some crazy takes about the future, but I think this is an accurate take. So, well, and you know what? At the same time, though, does it even make sense to give advice? I'm not even sure. Because you could make the argument that it just doesn't matter. I mean, people are going to be who they're going to be. And I think a lot of people are going to fall and falter. And other people are just going to rise up to new heights. And hopefully humanity hits a higher form. Could be possible. But I think the days of mass goodness are over. Those days are over. And they've been over. Because it's time for scarcity. TLDR's with Slaw. Today we talked about the future. I don't really know what else to really get into about that, because I think it was just broadly the future. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Schla out.